Okay, readers, it's time for November's most anticipated read. So here's the list I've curated for you. Welcome back to my channel, Books, Ink, and Paper. I'm Lori, and I'm so happy you're here. If you're new, take a look around, see what some of the old videos look like, see if this is a good channel for you to subscribe to. And those of you who are in my community, welcome back. I'm so happy you're here, and I'm so happy to share about 11 books with you today that come out in the month of November. And I think they're kind of fun. I had a little bit trouble. I didn't have to pare them down this month, and some months I haven't pared them down, but I like to stay around 10 or 11, and this month I had no trouble doing that. So there's a little bit of nonfiction, a little bit of fiction here. So let's start with The Author's Guide to Murder. This is what I feel like might be a little bit of a cozy mystery by Beatrice Williams, who typically writes historical fiction in a more serious vein, and also Lauren Willig and Karen White. So the three of them have created this murder mystery about a man whose name is Brett Saffron Presley, and he has a Gothic mansion in the Scottish Highlands. He's an author as well, a literary kind of famous guy, and he has this mansion set up so that he has these writerly functions in it. So people come to this space to learn more about their craft and write books, which happens to be the reason why three of these women are present. So one of them is Cat de Noir, and she is an erotica writer, erotica romance. And Cassie Pringle, who's a Southern mom of 6 children, and she writes more cozy mysteries. And then the other person's name is Emma Endicott, and she's a historical fiction writer and pretty successful as well. So the three of them happen to be in this castle, and Brett Saffron Presley is murdered. And this detective, Ewan McIntosh, sorry, Emma is Endicott. Ewan McIntosh comes to investigate how Brett was killed. Now, this is a mystery that is a locked room setting. This is being billed as Agatha Christie meets Murder, She Wrote. So it does sound a little cozy, and it also does sound a little thrilling, and it's apparently kind of a literary satire, according to the description. So I think this will be great fun. The cover would suggest that it's a bit cozy and not quite so serious. So I think it's great. So it's very meta, like these three authors wrote a book about three authors who are writing a book. They say it's a delight, and I can't wait. So November 5th. All right, this one also sounds like a cozy. And this is The Gardener's Plot by Deborah Benoit. And this one has a beautiful cover, but it's about a woman whose name is Maggie, and she's had kind of a rocky time of it lately, and she wants to return back to the Berkshires where she spent some time as a younger person, just to kind of get a new perspective and a new sort of fresh look on her life. And while she's there, she meets a woman named Violet who is creating a community garden. And so Maggie agrees to help her with that, and they carry on with this project. But on the day that the community garden is due to open, they find a foot in the garden plot, and they realize soon that it's attached to a body, and that body is Violet's. And so now there is a murder, and the police are looking for a killer, and I suspect that Maggie's going to help them try to find out who killed her friend. So this one sounds delightful, and again is also coming out on the 5th of November, and it's being published by Minotaur. It does come in hardcover, so a lot of cozies start as mass market paperbacks, but this one does not, so it's maybe a little bit more than a cozy. This one really hits home to me because I'll tell you in a minute why, but this one is called What the Chicken Knows, A New Appreciation of the World's Most Familiar Bird. And this is by Cy Montgomery, who was also the author of The Soul of an Octopus and some other books as well. And I really enjoyed The Soul of an Octopus, but this one is more special for me because my kids actually currently, my son and his wife and my grandkids have chickens in their house. I think they have 5. They all have names, no roosters. And so the kids are enjoying finding their eggs and, just listening to them. And my daughter-in-law sits out with them and scratches their little backs and spends a lot of time with them. And while I was there for a week with my grandkids helping because my other kids their parents were out of town, I had to sort of take care of some chickens too. And so I was trying to get to know them, trying to understand them, trying to get them to go in their little pens. It was quite something. So Cy Montgomery has her own backyard full of chickens and has had for a while. And so she wants us to understand inside the chicken what's really happening. So she reveals what makes them remarkable creatures, which is that only hours after they leave the egg and are hatched, they're able to walk already, they're able to run and peck, and that relationships are really important to them, and they can recognize more than one human. They can anticipate what's going to happen. They can remember past things that happened, so they are trainable, allegedly. And they send out 24 distinct chicken calls, which I can say I did in the week I was there become aware of when they were making the noise that meant they were laying an egg. And I think my granddaughter could too, my 8-year-old, because she would run out and say, "Can I check the chicken eggs? Can I check the chicken, the coop for eggs?" And I would say yes. And then she would be so excited to bring them in. I actually have 18 eggs that came from my grand chickens, and I'm so excited about that. But yeah, so I get paid in eggs now, I think, for different things, which is perfect with me. I think this will be great, and I think this is a must read for me as well. Also on November 5th. The next one is called Rolling Toward Clear Skies, and this is by Catherine Ryan Hyde. And when I first saw this, I thought it was by Catherine Ryan Howard, which is an author of suspense books that I have read before. And the more I read this synopsis, I was like, no, this is not this. This is weird. She's written a love story, sort of a poignant family saga. It's Catherine Ryan Hyde. So this is a new author to me. This one comes out on November the 12th, and it is available for pre-order if you have Kindle Unlimited and you want to mark it for borrowing now, which is interesting. I've never seen that happen before. Here's the reason I pulled this one forward for you. This is about a foster mother with a new blended family, and this is a novel of hope and second chances, which I do love. This is about Maggie, who's divorced, and she has 2 children of her own. She's a physician, and disaster strikes in Louisiana, and she and her partner romantically and professionally, whose name is, let me look at my notes, what's his name? Alex. And they are part of what's called Doctors on Wheels. And so they go to Louisiana to respond to this hurricane and see how they can use their skills and resources to be able to help people who are there. But when they get there, Maggie discovers and bonds with 2 young sisters whose names are Jean and Rose. Okay. And they have a dog too. And so she's just immediately, her heart is full and taken with these girls, and she decides she's going to try to help them. They set up a foster family situation, her and Jean and Rose and the dog. They're not necessarily getting along real well with her teenage daughters, who are Willa and Gemma. They don't like this at all. It becomes a little chaotic. So this is, again, kind of a novel of coming together and finding love and peace in difficult situations, I think. And because it's a hurricane book and because it's set in Louisiana, it really kind of set with me in a different way. I just think it's a nice departure from some of the books that are on this list, and it's a bit unique. And I love this cover. I mean, it's just absolutely gorgeous. Having worked in this system with foster care children for so many years, yeah, this one got me. It got me good. So take a look if you're interested. Next up is Pickle Ballers by Ilana Long. This is a romance. This is probably, I don't know, this one just, I mean, you can tell by my smiling, this one just hit me. So it is a novel about Meg Bloomberg, who is in a pickle. So this is not, I mean, I just want you to know what to expect. So her ex turns out to be a terrible person who's been playing her for a long, long time. And so she and her bestie go off for a pickleball excursion because apparently they're pretty good at this. And it's on Bainbridge Island, which is one of my favorite places. So again, it just, all these books kind of drew me right in. It's supposed to be easy. They're going to have a little fun time. They're just going to have fun and play pickleball. But she meets this guy named Ethan Fine. His name is Ethan Fine, and she begins to feel attracted to Ethan. It says in the synopsis that Ethan seems like the real deal. I know. I hope the book isn't as campy as the synopsis, but also it kind of makes me laugh. So I don't know what to say about this. I'm not likely going to buy it, but I would get it from, my library if they end up getting it. Meg discovers that Ethan is kind of trying to sabotage her game, and so she is done. And so she's going to take control of her own life, and she's going to stay away from Ethan, and she's just going to play pickleball. But will love bounce back is the next thing in the end of the synopsis. I know. You can put in the comments, what in the world? This is absurd. If that's how you feel, but I just thought it was kind of fun, so I added it to the list. And now for something completely different. Also released on November 12th is Munich, a novel by David Peace. Brand new author to me. I've never heard of David Peace before. It's being billed as a novel of tragedy and renewal. And it is inspired by something that actually happened. So this is about Manchester soccer team, Manchester United, which is still a soccer team in England. They don't call it soccer, they call it football, just so you know. Those of you who are in the UK won't feel like I don't know what I'm doing here. But in 1958, Manchester United was known as the best soccer team in the world, and they were the champions, and they had some powerful, powerful players. On a snowy afternoon in February, a plane carrying that team back from the European Cup crashed and went down, and it killed 23 people, including some Manchester players and their officials of their team. It traumatized everyone. It destroyed the root of the team, and it really, the whole community was mourning. And if you've ever watched Ted Lasso, I don't know that much about football in the UK, but I do know that if this is any indication of how these soccer teams are kind of connected, I can see where that would be true, that the whole team would just be devastated. So this is a reimagining by David Peace, because it's a novel of what might have happened and how they recovered from this and how they move forward between, being with the players, the family, everything that goes with that, and reimagining what their lives will be without their friends and their team leaders and all of that. Ironically, Kazuo Ishiguro, who wrote The Remains of the Day, and it's a book that I have on my list that I want to read, I got from my library. He is one of the people who blurbed it and said that it's brilliant. I do think that this will be very good. I do love this cover. It's very dark, but it's also very, I don't know, there's just something about it. I would really like to read this. So that's Munich by David Peace. The next one is Pictures of You by Emma Gray. Emma Gray wrote The Last Love Note, which I have in my book of the month stash, and I haven't gotten to yet. And this one is another emotional kind of a recovery, if you will, from an accident, and a person who is supporting and helping her to recover from that accident. So she wakes up, her name is Evie Hudson. She wakes up in a hospital room. She has no idea what happened, because the last she remembers was she was at a teenage party with her best friend Bree. But Bree is gone, and high school was years and years ago, and so she's obviously having some trauma, because she also was in an accident with her husband who was killed. So the reason she's in the hospital is because of this accident, and she wakes up to realize that not only is she not a teenager, but she was married and that he is now dead. She doesn't remember him either, so this is very, very difficult for her. Then enter Drew, who is a photographer who somehow happens to connect with Evie, but I don't know if it was because he was at the scene of the accident or if he finds her in the hospital. Nevertheless, they connect, and he tries to figure out what happened in her life and helps her to put the pieces of her life back together. And so I think there have to be pictures involved, or at least pictures in their minds. I don't know, but it sounds like a good book, and it is a second chance romance, which I often do enjoy. This one is getting some buzz, and it comes out again on November 12th. So this one I skipped, but this one comes out on November 5th as well. Sorry about that. And this is called, the name of this band is REM. And this is written by Peter Ames Carlin, who is a biographer, and he's exploring the band REM and how they came to begin from a small first concert in Athens, Georgia, to what was a pretty amazing career of success and a number of albums that they are responsible for. I love REM, which is why this appealed to me. I love their style. I love their lyric. I loved kind of just, I don't know, there was just something about it that really worked for me. They really kind of defined the 80s and the 90s in their music, but also this is about the culture of the 80s and the 90s, like what was happening during that time and what was important for people to be involved in and what were kind of the hallmark tenets of this generation or these two generations, these two decades. So I think this would be really fun. I think he examines the music. I think he examines each person. So if you remember, this is Michael Stipe as well as Peter Buck and Mike Mills and Bill Berry. I had to make sure I had a little note because I don't always remember anybody other than Michael Stipe. He was definitely the leader of this band. His lyric and the way he sang those songs, it just still gets to me. I still listen to REM all the time. So if you do too, this might be a good one for you. But don't forget, this one is November 5th, not the 12th, because I forgot to put it in there. All right, and the last one comes out November 26th. This is a memoir by Angela Merkel, and it's called Freedom, Memoirs 1954 to 2021. And if you're not familiar, Angela Merkel was the Chancellor of Germany. She was the leader of Germany, and she was responsible for the uniting of Germany as well as just making it through a lot of really difficult issues that were happening and situations that were occurring in Germany, and also trying to create relationships with other partners, right, in the world to be able to find outcomes for citizens in Germany. One of the things I'm struck by, and one of the reasons why, there's two reasons why this book really appeals to me. One is that my father's side of the family were from Germany, so they immigrated well before my father was born, but still. The other reason that I want to read this is because I actually follow a couple of people on social media who live in Germany, and their lives in Germany and the benefits that they have and the healthcare options and just the way of life in Germany is incredible. I suspect that is a direct result of some of the changes that Angela Merkel made, but I'm not certain. I would really like to find out what she did and how she did it, and just understand the life of a female leader, head of state, because, we haven't had one thus far. And I would love to know how she did this. I've been there a few times, and when I was there, the experiences were tremendous. That is my last pick. And again, that comes out on November 26th. I hope you enjoyed these anticipated reads today. I hope that you found something here that you might be interested in. If you did, do let me know in the comments which one or ones you think you might want to read. Also, if you've heard of other new releases that are coming out, do share those in the comments too, because my suspicion is that others are reading the comments as well. And I can also put forward some other recommendations, or, I could pick up one or two that you recommend too. So if you have some new releases in November that you want to share, please do that in the comments below. And as always, happy reading. Bye.